On this week's episode, we talk all about independence and transitioning to adulthood.
We talk cooking, cleaning, transportation, shopping for necessities. It's a fun one.
So stick around.
Hi, and welcome to Rare with Flair.
Two 20-somethings with the same rare disease out here living our best lives. I am your host, Casey.
And I'm your host, Cassandra.
Cass, I have had an eventful week. I have to tell you about my eventful week. I'm like a new woman, okay?
Ooh. Do tell.
I baked for like the first time, which...
Casey baked!
I baked.
Casey baked.
Like homemade cookies, pumpkin chocolate chip cookies, the recipe that Cass gave me, so thank you for that. I also,
circa our fall episode, by the way.
Yes.
They looked so good. I'm so proud of you.
They were so good. Oh my gosh.
Did you share them or did you eat them all?
No, I definitely shared them with like 3 different people, but I ate a lot of them. I made a lot of them. And then I lit a candle in my house. And if you know me, this is a big deal because I don't like fire. I usually do the wax melts, but I like it. I'm a candle girl now. Like, who is this new person? I don't understand.
Girl, I love lighting scented candles, and I know to be fair, fire is quite scary, but
yes.
I'm really glad you got to do that. It just changes the game. Totally changes.
It does.
The game.
I just feel like very fall, like the baking and the candle makes me feel very fall festive. I also went to a corn maze, which was amazing.
Oh, so jealous.
I've been really, really living the fall life. So what have you been up to?
Yes. So this week was exciting because tomorrow I'm actually going to a concert that I had purchased tickets for back in April. It's for one of the bands that I mentioned was like one of my favorites in our music episode last year called Jukebox the Ghost. They're a lot of fun. They're really good performers. I haven't seen them live before. And it's their special Halloween show where for half the set, they perform just like their songs, but then they change and then they perform Queen covers, and they're really good at Queen covers. So it's called Hollow Queen.
Oh my gosh, I love it!
And people like dress up in costume. Like, I'm super excited. I think it'll be a lot of fun. But spur of the moment last week, I bought tickets to a concert that I went and saw last night that I had like just kind of recently gotten into, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go, and it was a lovely show. I was super happy.
I'm so glad to see you're back enjoying live music. It's so great.
Thank you. It's so good.
We have a fun coming up for you guys. We wanted to do an episode about independence, about transitioning into adulthood and how that's been for us. And we're going to just touch on a few different topics and sections of that and tell you how we feel about all of them. I think it should be fun.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and like we wanted to disclaim that, like, even though I think that being disabled, growing up, people hype up independence and like, It's like, oh, that's the end goal, that's the end all be all. But some people just cannot be independent, or some people just choose not to be. Like, that's not as important to them.
Yeah, like, independence, I think there are different levels of independence, and we're going to go through different sections, and in some areas you might be really independent, in some you might not be at all. Like, there are different levels for everyone, and I totally agree. This episode is not us saying like independence is the end all be all of life. It's just something we are experiencing, for the first time as adults and trying to navigate that, so we wanted to talk about it.
Yeah, I think that like for us, we've, like most people, have experienced the most independence when we moved out on our own. And I think that that's been something that's been good for us in lots of ways. Like, we've gotten to, like, push ourselves to lengths that maybe we didn't know we could go, which has been really fun. I don't know about you.
Oh, no, definitely. I think, like, even, like, beginning of college, Casey, like, was scared of going out on her own, and I don't know if, like, 18-year-old Casey would see me now and, like, believe that I did, because I was scared. I was definitely scared for a lot of reasons, but we will definitely get into that.
I think independence also relates to your own personality. Like, since I was like a kid, I've always wanted to like do everything myself, and like I've wanted to be independent, and that's something that I personally desire. And I've had to learn to accept help, which I'll probably mention another time in this episode, but like it's been more of a journey that way. And then with Case, I think it's been more of like empowering yourself that you can do it. But there's still like an element of like, hey, yeah, I'm going to try this thing that I've never done before, and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I don't value independence quite as much as Cass. I do value it, but I don't mind getting help from people as much. Like, I never have felt that strong independent need. But I have a little bit at certain points in my life in different areas. And I think, it is very much a personality thing. It's different for everyone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. So we wanted to talk about a few different things, and wanted to start with cooking, because I feel like that's something people consider part of independence. So
yes, you like to cook. You are a good cook.
I do like to cook. I like to think I'm a good cook.
You are. I've never tried your food, to be fair, but like I can tell you are.
Thank you. Wow, that's so nice.
You're welcome.
So for me, I like learned to cook since I was little. I remember like my brother and I, so our mom would like go out of her way to make sure that we knew a lot of the basics. Like, we learned how to like boil eggs and things when we were little. I remember making Jell-O for the first time. It was kind of life-changing. I held a hot substance. I felt like I was on danger's edge. And like I remember when I used like a stove unsupervised when I was like in high school, and it was like, ooh, look at me go. I always liked to bake in high school too, so that was something that I just thought was a lot of fun. And then in college, it was a lot harder to have access to cooking, and then I also just didn't have much of the time to do it. Because like living in the dorms, there's like one kitchen in the basement, so if you like really want to cook, you can, but it's like a lot more work, and you don't have as much fridge space for groceries, so it's not really that motivating to try and do it. But I did do it a few times with some other people. And then when I lived in my sorority's house, we had a commercial kitchen, so I really couldn't cook anything. Like, we weren't allowed to. But it wasn't until my senior year of college I started cooking a lot more. I first lived by myself, like alone, the 3 months of the summer leading up to my senior year of college when I lived in Seattle. And pretty honestly though, like I really didn't cook very much when I lived in Seattle. I ate out like a lot. I had a really long commute, so that was my excuse for not wanting to cook, was just like, oh, I would get home at like 7.
Oh yeah.
But at the same time, I just thought I had a lot more fun eating out in that time in my life. But then when I got back to school, I wanted to, I needed to save more money. So I did cook more, and it was a lot of fun, even though I had like I lived in a duplex with 3 other women, and it was very cramped. So we had like no counter space, but, I learned how to portion things, because I started out by making like the whole recipe for just me, and then I was eating the same thing for like 12 days, and I hated it.
Yeah. Do you find that cooking is super visual for you, like visually challenging?
Some elements of it are, but there's a lot that you can do in cooking that is extra sensory, meaning like you can use other senses to do there's a lot of things that require like smell, and you can touch things to feel the firmness of your ripened like avocados or things like that. Mm-hmm. Like, there's a lot that does rely on, also audio cues, like, is the pan hot enough yet to fry my chicken breast, or whatever it is that you're doing. But there are some visual things that are tricky. I especially think knife skills are tough.
Yes.
I'm really scared that I'm going to shank my finger, and I've definitely shanked my finger before.
And with a bleeding disorder, it's not a great combination.
It's not. I will say my favorite workaround kitchen tool for knife skills or for poor knife skills is this chopper, which is just awesome. I asked for it for my birthday one year, and it has interchangeable little blades, so you can, like, if you can quarter an onion, right? Mm-hmm. Then you can put it on top of your little chopper, and then it'll dice it like really fast and in pretty good pieces. So I don't have to dice it all myself.
Yeah.
Which is awesome.
Yeah, I need that because that is a thing for me. I am also really bad at chopping.
Recommend.
Like, I hate chopping. I have bad knife skills. I'm always scared. I'm very careful. Like, I'm overly careful, so I don't really cut myself. But then it takes longer. Yeah. And it's just more exhausting. Like, I see people just going at it, chopping, and I'm like, how do you do that? Like, it's amazing.
Understand.
But I am someone who, my mom is not a big cook. It's not that she was a bad cook. Like, she did her best to really, like, cook us, like, good meals growing up and vegetables and healthy stuff. But, like, she doesn't consider herself a cook. And I never really grew up in the kitchen. I'm afraid of fire, like I mentioned in the first part of this episode. So, like, cooking, I mean, it is dangerous to an extent, like the oven and the stove. Yeah. And if you haven't used those things much, they can be very intimidating and scary. And so in college, I barely cooked at all. And then when I lived in New York, my kitchen was so tiny that if you opened up the oven, it touched the wall. Like that.
I can verify this. I have seen a photo. Yes. That is the right way to describe it.
Literally, you had to, like, turn to the side to even, like, walk into the kitchen. Like, it was wild. But I, just in the last year, like, right now we're in October, and at the beginning of 2020, at the beginning of January, is when I really got into cooking this year. And I feel like the more I cook, the more comfortable I am with cooking. And, you know, I started off just, like, making, boiling eggs and making pasta and, like, simple things like that. And now I've grown and made more complicated things. But I feel like you don't go from just 0 to 100. If you're not comfortable in the kitchen, my advice is to start small and start with, like, basic things like boiling pasta, noodles or something. And then you can get more into complicated. Not that I'm making super complicated things. I'm not. But, like, you know, more advanced things than just your basic stuff.
What was, like, a big, or I don't know, why do you like to cook more now than, like, freezer food? Like, what is the difference there?
Definitely, like, and we've talked about this before, I know, because when I discovered cooking, I told Cass, like, this is life-changing because it's just so much fresher. And also, like, when you put work into it, I feel like it tastes better when you put work into it because, like, you tried hard. I feel like freezer food it's still good. I still make it maybe once a week or something. But, like,
Trader Joe's has awesome
They do.
freezer
Trader
food.
Joe's has great freezer food. But, like, once you make real food, it's really hard to go back to just freezer meals after that. Because, like, it's just game-changing. And I've picked up a lot of new hobbies during the pandemic, and I'm grateful to say that this is one of them. And hopefully baking as well now. I'm glad. Yeah.
You opened the door, man. I think, like, you can just, like, make some other things that are pretty chill, like other cookies or...
Yeah.
I think even scones are actually really easy. I used to make them in high school.
Yeah.
So there's so many things to try.
And just like the chopper you talked about, there are a lot of tools like that to help blind and low vision people cooking. Like, a lot. Like, you need to do some research and dig into that if you haven't, because, or not you, but I mean the listeners, because there are a lot of, like, cool tools for low vision people when it comes to cooking.
I've heard of some cool tips of, like, putting puffy paint on your stove so that you know, like, which knob is for which burner. Yeah. Or, like, doing the same kind of thing, or finding high contrast, like, measuring tools.
Definitely.
I've thought about getting a talking kitchen scale because, like, while I'm measuring, I have to also be, like, really closely looking at the weight of what I'm measuring. And I'll weigh out ingredients for, especially baking, because baking is a bit more precise that way. It's, like, more chemistry,
right,
I guess.
Right.
But I have a little trouble using the scale. It's not, like, anything massive. I just think that it would be nice if there were an easier scale option.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So moving on to something kind of related to cooking, cleaning. Oh my goodness. Cass.
So Case and I live in our own condos.
Yes, we do.
So what is your favorite chore and what is your least favorite chore?
My favorite chore, most chores I don't mind. I feel like the ones I hate, I really hate, but then the rest are kind of like equal. Like I don't mind laundry. I don't mind the dishes. I actually kind of like doing the dishes.
I like dishes too.
Yeah, isn't it? It's kind of like therapeutic. Like it's kind of nice. I'll put on some music and just kind of do my dishes. And I do a lot of them by hand. In New York, we didn't have dishwashers, and I kind of got used to that. Although I do use my dishwasher, but when you're living alone, it's like it takes a while to fill
really
up.
hard to fill it up.
Yeah.
When you're living alone, and you don't want to leave things in there for like 5 days
No.
until you can finally fill it up. Ew.
No, but my least favorite chore, hands down, well, two. One of them is putting a fitted sheet on the bed, but that's for another time. That's terrible. But my least favorite chore is the floors, sweeping, mopping. The floors are terrible.
Sweeping is bad.
Because we can't see it. Like, I feel like I have to get on my hands and knees to see the dust on my floor, which is really disgusting, and I shouldn't be all the way down there by the dust. That's really gross. But also, from a chronic pain perspective, it's really, like, painful. Like, it's physically exhausting to sweep floors.
It is physically taxing to sweep and mop floors.
Yes. So it sounds like you hate it as well.
Yeah. I don't sweep anymore because I have a Roomba.
Jealous. I'm
because
jealous.
I highly recommend it. I know that they're pricey, but like it was a game changer, especially since I have a lab who sheds a lot.
Yes.
It was like a necessity for me. I bought one a couple of years ago on Black Friday. And there was a pretty good sale, so it has been absolutely worth it. I use it on my hard floors, and then I'll vacuum the carpets. But like sweeping is hard because like I prefer mopping because one, you get this like clean, fresh smell of goodness whenever you mop. But like I feel like with mopping, I can follow a pattern on the floor a lot more easily.
Yes.
Than with sweeping, like you kind of really have to see the little pile of dirt you're pushing around, and I can never see it.
It's so hard. I would love a Roomba. My dog does not shed, but he like tracks in so much dirt and leaves and sticks and crap. Like when it rains and that dog walks in the house, his paw prints, his muddy paws, like it's just the worst. And like I have got to get a better method because I hate it. I literally hate it. And every other chore, I really don't mind that much, honestly. Like every other chore doesn't feel as visual to me as the floor.
I agree. There are some like deep cleaning things that I think are more difficult.
That's true.
Because like I will just like walk, especially toward I have a basement bedroom. It's not like the basement, but it's like a little below the level of the floor. And I think there are more spiders here than not. And I don't see the spiders. Besides, they don't usually bug me because in my mind, they eat the other bugs wherever they may be in my house. Again, to clarify, I don't have a house full of bugs, but if I did, the spiders would eat them. So, but I feel like walking into my basement bedroom, I'm like pulling spider webs as I just like walk through the door frame, and I'm like, where did they come from?
Yeah, it's hard to clean.
They were there yesterday.
Like dusting and all of that. I don't do nearly as often as I should, probably. Like, I don't know.
I don't do it until I touch the furniture and it feels gross.
Yeah, no, seriously. Seriously, but yeah, so that's our cleaning journey. It you know, like at some point you do have to become independent with cleaning, and it's not always fun, but sometimes it can be, I guess.
And all those things said, like Case and I keep our homes pretty clean.
Oh yeah.
Like I'd say that I keep my home pretty clean. I try to like wipe the counters off every day because that kind of thing. And you get into certain habits. Like I've been in and out of my house a lot for travel, but like Thursday was always vacuum day. So I would like or Friday if I didn't have time, but like I'd vacuum my carpeted rooms and then like the stairs, which I have a lot of stairs in my house, which takes some time, but it's always just really nice when it's done and it just smells like clean.
Oh, I love it. No, I really do.
It's
I
so
really
good.
do value a clean house. It makes me, and I used to not be that way. When I was young, I was very unorganized, and something clicked in me when I moved into my own space to be really clean because it just feels so nice to me. Like, I love waking up to a clean house, and that's why even if there are dishes in the sink at night, I usually will do them so that when I wake up in the morning, I can be happy with my past self's decisions to have done that.
Yeah, I feel like in my house there are small areas of chaos, but the larger house is clean.
Yes, for sure, for sure. So up next, when we've touched on this a little bit, but we wanted to touch on this from an independence perspective, and that is transportation.
Yes. So we did do a whole episode back in the summer about travel and transportation and taking the bus and whatever. So we kind of just wanted to talk about like getting to places / running errands. Like, how do you run errands?
Yeah. So at different times in my life, it's been different. In college, I would like get a ride from a friend. In New York, I went on the subway and things like that. And I did it completely independently. But now where I live, you can't walk places from where I live, and the public transportation is pretty bad, so I have two options, either an Uber or a family or friend. And I did use Ubers a little bit before the pandemic. I haven't used them since, and my mom and dad live near me. So I'll get a friend to drive me. I mean, usually I'll get a friend to drive me if I'm doing something actually with that friend. I won't just like ask my friend to take me to the grocery store. But I'll either get I'll get my parents to drive me, or yeah, that works for me. I mean, sometimes it's annoying to be like driving with your mommy when you're like 28 years old, but I don't really mind it. Like, I've kind of come to that point in my life where I'm like, I'm disabled. Like, this is what I need. I don't really care what people think. People can think I'm younger than I am, or people can think whatever they want to think. But, you know, like, I think in the years to come, certain people might come in and out of my life and certain things might change. But right now, that's the way that works for me.
Yeah. So for me, I have a few different ways I'll get around for things. Obviously, there's always the option of like friends. I live an hour-ish away from my parents, so like if they come, it's like more of a thing. But if it depends on like what it is that I need, right? Or what it is that I'm doing. Right. So if I need to go to CVS or pick up just a couple not too heavy things at a grocery store that I like maybe forgot in my weekly groceries, or if I want to, I don't know, just like walk around or get a cup of coffee, I will probably walk. When I bought my condo, I wanted to be in a more walkable part of my city that had access to transportation, since I'm not that close to my family. So I'm really happy with the area that I'm in, and I feel like I'm able to get to most of the things I need when I need to do them.
And I feel like since you have a guide dog, walking makes more sense because you want to utilize your dog, you know?
Well, yeah, and she needs exercise and stimulation. Yeah. So, you know, a little bit, like after we're done recording, I'm gonna walk to the pharmacy and go and get some prescriptions that I need to pick up. So, like, that's just an example. But another thing I make use of is I really don't know how widely used this is, but in my city, there's paratransit for people with disabilities to ride the little bus, which I mentioned in our transportation episode or travel episode. So if you want to hear about that, you can go and listen to that. But in my city specifically, they have this special thing that is like through the paratransit, but it's like a third party organization company that they contract through. And I like to call it Uber for disabled people because that's kind of what it is. But like if you have the time and you can plan it in advance, you can call within 2 hours or more, and they can pick you up and take you place to place just like Uber. But you have to be authorized to use it. And it's so much more affordable than Uber because it's only like $1 per mile.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Uber can easily be double that in some situations. So like it's so convenient. It's nice because the drivers know that I'm disabled, and they like, I feel like a common experience is that people who are taking like a Lyft can tell you that like if the driver can't find you, they're gonna be upset and they're gonna like yell at you and they're gonna be like, you gotta tell me where you are, otherwise I can't pick you up, you know.
Yes, exactly.
So here they know that they're looking for someone who's disabled who might not be able to see where they are. So it's really nice. And I know that they're also not gonna reject me for my guide dog, which again is illegal but happens.
Oh yeah.
So it's all I've been making use of that probably since July, and it's been like a game changer. I use it all the time. I used it yesterday to like get to the concert that I went to. It's just amazing. I love it so much.
That is amazing, and I'm so happy you found that. And like that's something, I don't even know if my city does that, but like I'm not against looking into those kind of things in the future if I needed it. Right now, it's just not really a necessity for me. But if I ever did need it, I definitely am open to looking into those things, because I'm not, it's not one of those things where, I know my parents won't be around forever, and it's not one of those things where like I rely on them to survive, like I could do it. But like, why do it if I don't need to do it? Like they live 5 minutes from me, so like,
Oh yeah. Well, and that's the other thing I was gonna say is that like my mom comes up and visits like every couple weeks or so.
Yeah.
And like we make plans for the times that she's gonna be able to be here to be able to run a bunch of errands that are like all across town in one go, instead of me having to coordinate individual rides to go to like 5 different places and spend a lot of money. And, also just like I get to have fun with my mom. A lot of what we do is like try new restaurants and things like that.
Yeah.
And I would love to do that myself, but again, it would be a lot more expensive. So it's nice because like in the time that it would take me to like get from place to place on my own, I can just do that with my mom. So there's so many benefits to any way of transportation.
Absolutely. And the next thing that kind of goes along with that is shopping. Like, how do you get your groceries and your necessities? How do you do it?
Most of what I do, especially groceries, is delivery. I'm super glad that delivery services are more widely used, but I've been using delivery services for like at least 2 years since I was in undergrad. I would use Instacart because I lived like 1.5 miles away from the grocery store. It wasn't really that far. Like I could walk there, and I frequently did, but like to carry all of that home, it's like not practical. Like I tried a few different ways. Like I like have a backpack with me, or like I have this cool like cart. It's like one big long bag with wheels that I would also use, which was really helpful, but at the same time just still a lot more of a hassle than like I could just get my groceries delivered and not have to do that, and I could get like a pack of water bottles or something super heavy.
Oh yeah.
And not have to worry about carrying it home. So I love Instacart, and I don't know, it's been just so helpful. And like then I can go to the store for like 1 or 2 things, and
absolutely.
It's great.
Yeah, I also do grocery delivery and take advantage of that. I have Amazon Prime where I can get Whole Foods delivered. Nice. And then I also I've done Shipt in the past where you get Kroger delivered. And it is so helpful. And the good thing about this, and we've talked about this in the past, things that help disabled people often end up helping a lot of different people. Maybe it's a
Mm-hmm.
mom with multiple young kids. She doesn't want to get in the car seats and get in and out, or maybe it's an elderly person, or whatever it is that can't get to the grocery or just doesn't want to get to the grocery. It's not just helpful for those of us that can't drive. It's helpful for a lot of people. And I think some people often say these things are lazy. Like, they're like, oh, like, you know, it's so lazy, da da da. But those people, like, don't have the knowledge that it actually helps people who physically can't get to the grocery. And I also like going to the grocery store. Like, I really love Trader Joe's, and Trader Joe's does not deliver, at least not here. So I do sometimes actually go to the grocery as well, but I also think delivery is really good, especially in a pinch. Yeah.
And I like delivery because I feel like I can plan better what I'm going to use for the week.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
These are the meals I'm going to make, so these are the ingredients I'm going to need. And it's a lot easier than, like, going to the store and then being like, oh, man, like, I didn't, you know, this was usually my experience. And maybe other people are more organized, probably. But I would just be like, oh, no, what am I going to cook this week? And then I'd, like, have to figure it out in the grocery store or get a bunch of things and then not get everything, and then you impulse buy a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, you impulse buy. And sometimes impulse buying is fun because you find new things you wouldn't have otherwise gotten to eat. But no, I agree. It's a lot easier to plan and buy only
My favorite
the things
grocery to browse in, though, is Aldi. They
Oh,
always
yeah.
have some cool new stuff.
Aldi's good, yes.
Mm-hmm. So the next thing we wanted to talk about was just our experience moving away and, you know, bleeding into the living on our own. But we both, like, lived, like, alone, and we currently do right now. But I know that when you were in I don't know if you can hear that, but my neighbor's playing, like, music out of his truck.
I did hear it. That's weird. I think I did hear it.
I was just like, what is that?
Copyright.
Okay, that was really funny. Anyway, sorry, I was so distracted. I know that when you lived in New York, you had roommates, but, like, regardless, it was, like, moving away from home, and we just wanted to talk about that experience of, like, moving away.
Yeah, we've both moved away, like, a plane flight away from home. I think I was really, really scared to do it. Like, I kept saying, this is going to take more bravery than I actually have. Because I feel like with certain things, you kind of just have to do it. Like, you know, some things you're never quite ready for. And you kind of just have to, like, push yourself and do it. And I ended up loving it. But it is a whole journey of learning. I feel like college was a really good bridge for me personally. I don't think college is for everyone. I don't think it's a must do necessarily, but for me, I think high school I wasn't very independent at all. College, I was like partially independent, and then when I moved, I became more independent. So I personally I couldn't have gone from high school to New York. Like, that would not have worked for me. I needed that bridge of college there. But yeah, like, how did you feel? Like, yeah, like you said, I did have some friends in New York. It wasn't like I was completely alone, which was great. But I know you were, like, basically completely alone when you went to Seattle, Washington. So, like,
I lived there less time than you did, because how long did you live in New York?
2 years.
Yeah, so I only lived in Seattle for a summer. It was only 3 months.
Right. It was still, but you still were away for a while, you know. So I think it counts. I mean, you weren't, like, living there for, like, long term, but, like, you moved away and you were alone. So it counts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I loved it. I was really excited to do it. I always wanted that experience of just, like, living in a completely new city. And I think I idolized that a lot. And I did it. I had a lot of fun, mostly by myself, really. And I didn't really have anyone there, though. Like, I had, like, a coworker I would occasionally hang out with, and then we just had, like, some family friends that lived in the area. But otherwise, like, I was alone. And so I did have some visits throughout the time that I lived there. Like, my mom came to help me, like, move in, and then my brother visited for a weekend. And so, like, otherwise, though, it was tough, especially just figuring out things. Like, I was going through something medically that summer, too. and having to navigate all of the medical things by myself in a new place where I didn't have any doctors. It was a lot of physical and mental effort that I didn't really think of. But like, the one thing that I said was like my biggest takeaway was that the family friends that I mentioned that lived in the area, I hung out with them like probably once every month that I was there. And it was a really unique experience for me because like their whole family was just there. They were all in that area, and they all lived like within minutes of each other. And growing up, my parents moved from Puerto Rico when they were in their 20s. So it was just the four of us really in like growing up when we were in Ohio. And so I didn't get to have a lot of extended family nearby. And whenever we saw my grandma, it was because she visited. And so it was just amazing for me to see like a family, like an extended family hanging out all the time, being close to each other, being like, oh, hey, I'll pick you up from this thing. And just that experience just affected me a lot more than I thought it would. And I just realized like, wow, man, you can live anywhere, but there's something that you can't replace about having community. And that's when I kind of realized that I didn't want to leave Ohio because I wanted to be able to be close to my family in case maybe something goes wrong, but also I just like want to hang out with them, and I do, and I'm really, really glad that I do. But yeah, that was a lesson that I learned. Like, man, you can't substitute community.
No, you can't. Like, a lot of people, when I tell them I moved back from New York, they say, like, literally, I had someone today actually say, oh, did you hate it? And it's like, no, my sister was having kids, and I was really, really missing seeing them grow up. And I agree with you that family comes first for me. And it doesn't mean that you can't live away from your family. You can still love your family and live away from them. But, like, for me, being close to them is so amazing and important for me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know my parents moved away, you know, and it was hard for them to just establish themselves and build roots and have a new family in a new foreign place. So, like, it's tough to do that. So more power to anyone who decides to do that. But honestly, I'm really happy that I'm nearby home. But I just want my brother to come back from Arkansas so then we can all be together. To come back.
But speaking of, I'm trying to segue here, and I don't think I have a good segue because I was like, speaking of family, let's talk about living alone.
Great segue.
We both live alone, and we both really like it. Not gonna lie,
I love living alone.
We really like it. How has that transition gone for you from going to roommates to living alone, to being, like, fully independently alone?
I love it. Like, I had some good roommate situations and some bad roommate situations. But ultimately, like, I really just love being able to have my own space, especially coming from, like, a social thing and then just being able to be like, oh, okay, here I am in my home. And it's really nice and calming, and I get to play the radio and listen to whatever I want and have like TV on in the background, and like no one's really gonna say anything because no one else is here. But I think the nice thing about, I lived alone in an apartment before I moved here, and I think also the nice thing about where I live now, this isn't something that you can pick, but I really like my neighbors. They're actually really nice. So it's nice to at least be able to like see a friendly face when you go outside, or to be able to text someone, hey, I'm out of town, can you pick up my mail? Or did the electricity go out for you too? Or, you know, like it does bring that like sense of living community without having to actually live with people.
No, that's so true. I'm grateful to be in a condo. I would prefer it over like a standalone house for me personally. Yeah. But yeah, no, I lived with roommates for many years. I loved my roommates. I don't mind having roommates. Like, it's not something I'm bad at. I'm not bad at sharing my space. It was never like a super bothersome thing for me. But living alone has just been so lovely. I just really love being able to decorate the way I want. I love like like you said, like listening to my music and my podcast just aloud without having to, I mean, it kind of, like, the way I'm describing this almost sounds selfish. It's like, I don't have to think of anybody but me. But, like, it is, for a living environment, it's very relaxing to me to, like, have on my own music, to sit in silence, to like, eat my meals and to just be relaxed and not having to, like, be on all the time and talking to someone all the time. Is nice. And we both have a dog, and I think having a living, breathing creature with us adds so much life and personality to our house that wouldn't be there if we were just, like, completely alone. It definitely, like, makes us feel less lonely.
I don't think I could have survived really living in Seattle as well as I did and enjoy it as much as I did if I didn't have my dog.
Oh, I'm sure.
Because I definitely would have felt that loneliness much, much more.
Yeah, I agree. Like, my dog, he makes a huge difference in my day. I feel like, and that's kind of actually our next little section here is dog momdom. We are not,
dog momdom.
Like, we're not moms, obviously. We don't claim to be. Being a dog mom is very different from being an actual mom. But we still have this, like I said, this living, breathing thing to take care of. It is a big responsibility. It's not just about you. That is one way that makes us not selfish, because we're constantly having to, like, wake up and, feed the dog, walk the dog, make sure the dog goes potty, make sure the dog is, you can't just, like, go leave your house for 9 hours and leave the dog. Mm-hmm. You have to be like, oh, I have to go let my dog out. And it's just something to always have to think about. I mean, waking up at 3 a.m. and cleaning vomit, you haven't lived until you've woken up at 3 a.m. and cleaned dog vomit, because we've all done it.
Yeah. I know. And, like, the thing about cleaning up dog vomit at 3 a.m. is that, like, you realize how much you really love your dog, because I've never once, like, been upset that I've had to get up at 3 a.m. to clean up my dog's vomit. Like, I just feel bad for her. Of course, I'm more upset that I'm tired.
Yes.
And, like, kind of out of it than the fact of having to, like, clean up the mess, because, like, I just want to make sure that she's okay, and that she's always, like, really sad about it too, which makes me sad. So the way we talk
makes it sound like our dogs are constantly vomiting.
Oh, she's playing right now. It's so funny. But no, she's a very good girl, and I don't know, it's just nice to have her. But yeah, you gotta, like, make sure, like, I always have to plan, like, all right, am I gonna feed her before this event or after, or what? I'm like, I don't know if you can hear any of these sounds, but she's, like, trying to play, and I'm trying to get her to not.
She knows you're talking about her. She knows you're talking about her.
I know she does. She's a very smart girl.
Obviously being a guide dog mom is different than just being a dog mom, and there are, like, I guess easier and harder aspects to both. But yeah, like, it is definitely a responsibility, and it's something I think, like, when you are younger and you're in high school, if you have a pet dog, even if it is quote unquote your dog, you're living at home with your family where, like, they can let the dog out. It doesn't all fall on you. Yeah. And when you're living alone, it falls on you.
It really forces me to go outside more, because I'm like, well, you know what? I think that I need to run this errand, not because I really need to, but more because, like, I want to give her exercise, or, like, and it's so nice, because I don't know, it's not like I'm, like, a hermit, but I don't really know if I'd leave the house as often if I didn't have to take care of my dog.
I completely agree. Like, he keeps me on a better sleep schedule, he keeps me more active, he keeps me outside more, like, I don't even want to think of what my schedule would be like if I didn't have him, actually. I'm not kidding. Like, he has changed my life in that way. And I worry for, like, if, when and if the time comes where he's no longer here, if I would just go right back to how I was before him. But I hope not. Because when the dogs, like, keep you accountable. Like, they keep you going, like, just like a kid would, honestly. Like, you have to get up and take care of them. You can't just, like, ignore their needs. So yeah, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we have
again.
Wow.
We're just gonna do a few rapid fire getting to know you
Icebreaker questions.
Icebreaker questions.
Okay. All right. So, I don't know if you need to check, but what is your most used emoji that isn't like a face?
My most used emoji that's not a face. Let me check. Okay, it is the light pink heart.
Which one?
It's just the heart. It's only one heart. Here, I will send it to you. I'm going to text it to you.
Okay. It looks like it's like 3 hearts in one, and it's very cute. I just zoomed in.
Okay.
For the record.
Yes, that is my most used. A lot of mine are faces, my top used, but that one, the jack-o'-lantern's getting up there in popularity this month, apparently, I'm seeing. But what about you?
I also have a pink heart, which is so funny. But I have the little pink heart that looks like it's like a heartbeat.
Yes.
I'll send it to you. There you go.
Oh, I love that one.
Yeah. I also love the shrug emoji.
Oh, yeah, they're a lot.
And, yeah, and, like, the hands emojis.
Oh, yeah.
Good.
There are some fun emojis. That's a good one. Okay. What is your favorite cozy activity? We're getting into fall. What do you do to feel warm and cozy?
Well, I love a scented candle, like you were talking about earlier.
Of course.
I love a scented candle.
Yes.
But honestly, I run cold, so I just love being in bed with like 17 blankets.
I love that. No, I 100%
awesome.
agree. I love that. I love all the basic like cozy activities. I love reading and knitting, and even the baking was a very cozy activity. I think like
baking is so lovely.
I really love the summer, but I'm trying to embrace the winter coziness, if you feel me. You know what I mean?
I do. Well, I feel like in recent years I've realized that I actually don't like the winter. I think I wanted to like it for a long time, but I hate walking in the snow.
I'm trying to romanticize it. I'm really trying to romanticize the winter and because that is the one thing you don't have in the summer is that cozy vibe. So I'm trying to like it.
Yeah. I am really happy about wearing like my sweaters again.
Yeah.
I love wearing my sweaters.
Love it. Me too.
Okay. Who is your celebrity lookalike?
Okay, I don't really have necessarily one that like people are always like, you look just like this person. But I will say, like, in college, all the time people told me, back when this show was popular, it was actually the character and not the actual actor that people would compare me to, but everyone would tell me I was a lot like Leslie Knope from Parks and Recreation.
Oh,
so that's the
so
Amy
funny.
Poehler character. So they didn't tell me I was like Amy Poehler. They said I was like Leslie Knope. So I don't know if I looked like her or if it was like my mannerisms or I don't know. Her character's a little obnoxious, but I can see like when my passionate side comes through that I am a lot like her in some ways. But what about you?
I feel like I haven't seen enough Parks and Rec to actually
if you saw it
accurately know.
She's like a way more extroverted version of me.
I did see like the first 2 episodes, I think, but I feel like I get
season
the vibe.
1 is not great at all. You got to get past.
Maybe I'll have to give it another shot.
Yeah.
So it's so funny. I've actually gotten a lot of Molly Ringwald.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think
it's like her lips.
I can see.
Like,
no, I can
cheeks.
see that. I've never thought of that before, but I can see it.
It's really funny. And like, especially when I changed my hair color a lot. So when I've gone like ginger, she's a redhead.
Yes.
People are like, "Oh wow, you look."
No,
so it's kind of cool.
I think it is the lips. Yeah.
I think it is, especially since like for like being a white actress, like she has pretty big lips, and I think that it's kind of cool because like I do too. So
yeah, I never would have thought that before, but I can see it. Okay. What is we love gift giving here on this pod, and what is your favorite gift you have ever bought someone?
Okay, so in our personalities, I think, episode, we talked about our love languages, and we both love like both giving, especially giving gifts, honestly. Like we just love to express love that way.
Love
so
it.
fun. So one gift I was really proud of, and I know you know what I'm gonna say though, because I gave her like live updates as I did it. I really went all out for Mother's Day this year, and I was super proud because one, I made brunch for my parents, which I thought was just so fun, and it turned out really nice, and I was really proud of it. And I had to get like some of the ingredients like far in advance because like they were like special or whatever. But one thing that I did was like my mom will have like a morning coffee and then like a 3 p.m. coffee. And she likes that 3 p.m. coffee to be like slightly sweeter. And the morning coffee is usually just like coffee and milk. And so she loves having like fancy syrups like for a latte or something, but usually those are kind of expensive. But I made some special syrups back in the spring. I made like, she loves like botanical flavors, so I made like a lavender syrup and like a rose flavored syrup, and I was like super happy about how they turned out. I even like I graphic designed like my own labels, and I printed them out, and I put them on like reused bottles. Like I was so proud of myself.
Okay? It was amazing. It was such a thoughtful gift. I live for this. I live for giving people gifts. Like, and I'm proud of a lot of the ones I've given as well. Like I really try. Like I love that you love it as much as I do, because
it's so fun.
But no, that gift was amazing. I think one that stands out in my mind that was recent was my nephew for Christmas last year. And we might have talked about these on the pod before, so sorry if we have, but I adopted an animal for him at our local zoo, which basically just means I paid a price to like give the animal food and stuff, but it's called like you're adopting the animal, even though you're not technically.
So cute.
And it came with this like certificate with his name on it and a picture of the animal, and so I told him like, you adopted this animal, and I gave him a stuffed animal.
So cute.
It was a grizzly bear, and he was so excited and he loved it. So yeah, like that was really fun.
I love that. That's so special. Yeah, we will like update each other on like, I'm getting this for so and so. I'm so excited.
We'll have to tell people we'll have to tell the pod what we got people for Christmas this year, except we can't say it yet, obviously.
I know. I'm already planning some what I'm excited for and what I would think are good ones, but we'll see.
Me too.
Okay, so my last one for you is, what is like one of the best pieces of advice or like a good piece of advice you've heard that has stuck with you?
There are so many. There's so many good pieces of advice I've gotten. There's one I wrote down recently. I need to actually find it so I say it correctly. Okay, I wrote this down in my notes because I heard it recently. It's a thought brought it, and a thought can change it. And I liked that because I guess what that means to me is like, if you have negative thoughts or anxious thoughts, a thought brought that on, but a thought, it can also change it. A thought can make it a positive. I think I have anxiety, and I'm not a negative person. I'm not a pessimist, but I often am constantly thinking of what can go wrong. And instead of focusing on what could go wrong, I should also focus on what could go right. And so when I heard that quote, I really liked it, because I'm like, I can change my way of thinking. It's really just like a lot of this is a matter of changing your mindset on things. So yeah. And that's so true. Obviously, like, not that applies to everything, but it is really important to be able to reframe your thoughts. I think for me, there was something that happened like early on when I had my guide dog, and like we struggled a little bit at the beginning. I was only 19 when I got my guide dog, which I like wasn't necessarily like super maternal or nurturing, or like growing up I didn't like take care of like a younger sibling or our family dog or anything really. So this is like my first like real like venture into taking care of something else. Yeah.
And like it was tough, but we did our best, and like she was a real trooper. And I think one of the things I've mentioned this before, but one of the things I struggled with the most when getting a guide dog was just like dealing with the public around me, and just people interfering with us like all the time and asking too many questions, and I just wanted to be like left alone to be able to do my thing with my dog. But it was while I was in college, and the backstory behind the piece of advice, I was walking through this area where like a lot of people will be with their dogs, and sometimes they'll let them run around off leash, which isn't allowed. But Ramona and I were getting chased on our way to a class by this unleashed dog, and I was furious. Yeah, like, awesome. And I'm pretty sure like I like yelled at the guy, and it was like, your dog needs to be on a leash, and like I was super upset. And so it just kind of is really off-putting too, because obviously you're not expecting that, and like you can't tell if the dog is aggressive, so it like really does scare me. But I like went to class and I like rage posted on like this guide dog Facebook group, and someone had like a really insightful comment of just like, hey, you know, obviously you're probably in the right about this, but just wanted to let you know that you can't control other people, but you can control how you react to the situation. And that's something I think about often, just because I think that in that moment I could have probably reacted in a better way than I did. And you can't control other people. Like, you can't, like, force people to do anything. So just being able to just assess the situation and react in a more calm and collected way is something that has been really good for me.
Absolutely. I agree with that completely. My last one for you is a habit that you would like to break.
Ew. I think that when I, like, one of my anxious habits is I've always done this ever since I was little. I pick my lips like with my teeth, and to the point that like they'll like bleed, and it's like not great. So I want to do a little less of that, because I feel like also it looks kind of weird in public.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
It's
what
hard
about you?
to break those kind of I have a lot of like little habits, nothing like too detrimental, but little things like I pick the skin on my fingers, which is a whole journey I won't get into, but that's annoying. But also my sugar addiction, if you will. I definitely love sugar, and it's something I've been working on, though. I'm working on, like, I'm not quitting it completely, but I'm working on just not needing it every single day and relying on it. So that's been a journey.
No, you have been doing a really good job with it. I'm really impressed.
I've been trying. Thank you. But anyway, that was fun. That was our app. We hope you enjoyed it.
That was our app. Thanks so much, everyone. And we'll see you in 2 weeks.
See you in 2 weeks. Bye.
Bye.